Shanghai, day two. Um, Started off by walking around trying to find this French district, but we couldn't. Um, and then we saw Brandon walking along the street while we were getting coffee. So that was pretty crazy. I had my first single meeting today with Eric Olander, um, who works in marketing and consulting, and also has a pretty serious podcast about Chinese influence in Africa and their investing. Got to learn just a lot about China, and the government and different parts about it. Talked about the surveillance, which was pretty crazy, and how there's facial recognition cameras everywhere that are tracking pretty much your every movement, and it's possible to kind of be low key in China, but it's really not, and it'd be really hard to do because you'd have to go without like a cell phone or really any kind of electronics. And also talked about how China is kind of investing and almost buying UN votes, which is kind of crazy, to think about. That the U.S. is going to start to get probably outvoted on almost everything. Um, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Um, then went to Tianchen tea shop, which was really cool. Got to like hang out for like an hour and a half, and talk to this lady about teas. Ended up buying a pretty good amount of tea, which was really cool. And then I had my second meeting, which was with Kieran, and he was actually pretty cool. I thought he worked for a different consulting company, but it turns out he works for a huge tea company in South Africa, where he's from, and he's here to kind of establish the company in China. And we talked a lot about market, entering the market and how to do that with my product, and kind of the how you could go through different things, finding an importer. He talked about people he knows that have storage space, and he was going to ask them about cold storage and kind of see what that was like. And we talked a lot about what would be the most important thing to Chinese consumers, because it's pretty different from America. He was saying it's a lot more based on the nutritional value. So if I could prove that, and I'd have to prove that in the U.S. and then have to replicate that in China because it wouldn't be trusted if it was just done in the U.S. He also said if it's not a Chinese product, it's actually pretty good because people are kind of skeptical of Chinese products, which is kind of crazy to think about, even in China. And then went to the dinner a little bit late, got some food, came back to the hotel and checked out the Sky Lounge bar, which was pretty cool, and all packed up and ready to go wander around a little bit tomorrow morning and then off to Hong Kong.